So welcome everybody to our webinar for this information session about the 2024 Intersectional Qualitative Research Methods Institute for Advanced Doctoral Students. We will refer to this as the Institute for the rest of the webinar. The Institute is sponsored by the University of Texas at Austin, Latino Research Institute, and the University of Maryland at College Station, Consortium for Race, Gender, and Ethnicity. My name is Dr. Morales Campos. I'm the Area Director of Training Programs and a Research Assistant Professor at the Latino Research Institute. I have the honor of being the moderator for today's session. First, I'll provide a little information on using the Q&A functions in Zoom webinar for today's session, and then I'll proceed with covering the agenda. Okay, so you'll see on the screen, there's a chat function, like a little bubble that you'll see. Please feel free to type in any questions that you may have, and we will get to them at the end of the session when we do the Q&As. Also, you can use either or, so the Q&A function or the chat function. And at the end, if you would like to verbally ask your question, just raise your hand and I can unmute you if needed. So this is the agenda for today. First, we'll introduce our panelist of speakers. Then we'll go over a little bit about what the institution is about. Then we'll discuss what the institute experience is, who should apply, what the application process involves, and at the end, we'll have our question and answer session. Now, to introduce our presenters for today, first we have Dr. Deborah Parra Medina. She's the inaugural director of the Latino Research Institute. She holds an appointment as a professor in the Department of Mexican American, Latino Studies at the University of Texas at Austin. She's her work focuses on health disparities, and she has extensive experience in developing culturally competent public health interventions with underserved communities, which include women, Latinos, financially disadvantaged, and immigrant populations. She uses mixed methods, community-based participatory approach, and also utilizes the promotora model and different multimedia technologies, including text messaging and other communications. Second, we have Dr. Gonzalez Martin, who is a folklorist and an associate professor of Mexican American and Latina Studies. She is an active affiliate faculty member of the Center for Mexican American Studies, Women and Gender Studies, and the Latino Media and Arts program at the University of Texas at Austin. She holds a PhD in folklore and ethnomusicology from Indiana University. She is the editor of the Journal of Western Folklore and on the editorial board of the Journal of American Folklore. Her research focuses on cultural practices and class formation in U.S. Latinx communities of practice, especially focusing on women, youth, and queer identifying populations. Her work looks at performance of everyday life, working with all manner of cultural productions. She's also the author of Quinceañera Style, Social Belonging, and Latinx Consumer Identities. And it also won Best Book for the Women's section of American Folklore and Society. And last but not least is Dr. Ruben Parra Cardona. He's a professor at the Steve Hicks School of Social Work, where he also serves as the coordinator for the school's initiatives in Latin America. He is also the area director for research at the Latino Research Institute. He was funded to do NIMH investigations that looking at treatment efficacy and relevance of two versions of an evidence-based parenting intervention for culturally adapted Latino families and young children. He's currently funded by NIDA to extend this line of research to Latino families with adolescent children. He has a wealth of experience on research and collaborations across the US-Mexico border and even into Chile. And now I will pass the mic over to Dr. Deborah Paradina, who will introduce the Institute.
Thanks, Dr. Morales Campos, and thanks everyone for being with us here today. Oh, I want to make sure I was unmuted. It's great to have you join us. And thank you for your interest in the Intersectional Qualitative Research Methods Institute that's designed specifically for advanced doctoral students. And this is a very unique training opportunity in that there are not very many institutes that are specifically designed that focus on qualitative methods and apply an intersectional lens and incorporate discussions of race, class, gender, sexuality, and other dimensions of difference or inequity. In addition to addressing qualitative methodology and intersectionality, the Institute also provides a unique space for networking with colleagues who are involved in similar areas of research, and also around professional development opportunities as you prepare for the next phase of your research careers. So everybody in the cohort will be an advanced doctoral student who in short term will be seeking out either faculty positions or postdoctoral positions. So we do spend some time focusing on what you need to be thinking about now in preparation for the next phase of your academic journey. The Institute at the University of Texas at Austin focuses on advanced doctoral students. There is another institute that's offered at the University of Maryland College Park, and that focuses for early career faculty. So if you have already completed your degree, if you're an early postdoc, or you're already in a faculty position, you should visit the University of Maryland Consortium for Race, Gender, and Ethnicity's website to learn about their institute. We always get students who have just finished in May, say for example, so in the summer, they're actually going to be postdocs. And even though it's called early career faculty, postdocs are eligible for that institute. You can also find a link to that institute's website on the Latino Research Institute webpage if you want more information. The IQRMI for advanced doctoral students is now in its 6th year. And we really focus on 3 major areas in the Institute, which you can see here on our slide. The goals of the Institute really are to use critical race and intersectional perspectives to interpret research. So how do you apply these lenses to your data? We also focus on how can we enhance your qualitative research methods in terms of data analysis, how do you interpret the data, and how do you present that data in your writing. And again, professional development. We provide guidance on how to complete your doctorate successfully and other kinds of professional development strategies that are going to support your transition to the next phase of your career. Next slide. So the Institute is hosted on the campus of the University of Texas at Austin. And Austin, of course, is in Texas. It's the capital city. UT Austin is the flagship campus of the UT system. And it's also a Hispanic serving institution. We have a student body of over 50,000 students and 3,000 teaching faculty. It's a great place to come and visit. It has a lot to offer for people who are interested in music and food and outdoors. It really has a little bit of something for everybody. The Institute is offered in the summer. Usually it's the last week of June. This year, that would be June 23rd through June 28th. The Institute begins on Sunday with a welcome dinner, and then it ends on Friday in the afternoon. Students are housed on campus in our dorms, and we really encourage people to be together and spend time together during the Institute. The next, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Gonzalez-Martin, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about if you apply and come to the Institute, what you can expect out of attendance.
We can move the slide forward.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Rachel Gonzalez-Martin. Hopefully you can see me on screen or see me soon. I'm going to share a little bit about the general Institute experience that you can kind of expect, knowing everyone has their own experience, but we facilitate a particular experience that I'll share. So during our intensive 5-day Institute, our goal is to help you refine the way that you think about utilizing intersectional research methods in your given field. Now, one of the biggest assets of this program are all the social and peer connections that you're going to make during the Institute, but also potentially the proximity to new mentors, either the folks that you'll be working with directly in the Institute day to day, or maybe other connections you're able to make on the UT campus. So keeping those kind of networks in mind is part of what is possible. It is hard work. It's intellectually intense, all-day programming, and I'll go into a little bit what that looks like. But keep that in mind. Some people think it's a writing retreat, and some people think it's a little bit of a vacation away from things. It really isn't. We try to program you and try to give you as much as we can for the short period that we get to be together. So really, each day begins with breakfast, followed by working group meetings in a real general sense. Each working group will divide up our cohorts, and you'll get to know specific people a little bit better. Your day is punctuated by different sort of thematic seminar sessions, such as queer of color critique or general introduction to sort of what intersectional methods look like. Maybe you're talking about coding. So these will all be punctuated during the week. We'll have a lunch break. We purposely have extended the lunch period so that people can, one, make appointments to discuss one-on-one their concerns or their research interests with faculty from the program, but also that you could also think about planning a lunch meeting with a potential other researcher or faculty member on the UT campus, or even adjacent to the UT campus. And so then you'll be able to have a little more time to do that, but also a little bit of time to process how your day is going. We found that folks could really use a little extra time to sort of be on their own, have a snack, have a lunch, and think about what they're going into in the afternoon. So really everyone will be working individually with their data and the materials, but that's not the focus of the day-long sessions. And I'll mention that a little bit as we talk about why this isn't a writing retreat. So if we could go to the next slide, that would be great. So no, this isn't a writing retreat. What we're really trying to do is offer you viewpoints to add to your own writing process. So there aren't necessarily like, hey, bring an example to this seminar and then we'll work with it in the big group. We really don't have time for that. Our cohorts are, between 15 and 20 students, and really to give people quality time with their work, it's more important that we're kind of giving you these structures to think through and helping you think more generally. But really, as you're going through your sessions, the goal is to take personal notes, right? Things about this session that can help your work. right? There isn't like a generic takeaway or any quizzes or anything like that. So part of this is, although it's not a writing retreat, we also do facilitate group writing experiences before the day begins. So if you're an early riser and you want breakfast and an hour of just like quiet writing or quiet typing with everyone around you, that's great. We also have started opening an evening space that you'll get familiar with, because it'll also be where you are during the day, and saying, hey, after dinner, get a writing buddy, come and sit and let the day sort of filter through into some notes you make for yourself. But these are independently run. They're not facilitated by any faculty. It's really just meant to say, hey, we're going to carve out a space for you if that's how you want to use your time. Next slide, please. All right, so here is the basic schedule for each day that we're together. So you start with morning working groups, and those are going to be assigned and they'll all be the same. You'll have a chance to meet with your core faculty mentor sometime before you even arrive for the Institute, so you're familiar with it. The morning sessions we have tend to be more academic and theoretical, and they'll change day to day. You'll notice the earliest ones on Monday are going to be about intersectionality broadly defined and how we're using it, particularly for this cohort and group. And then you can expect about an hour and a half to 2 hour, I can't remember exactly right now, lunch break, right? For you to get a lunch local, what we provide, to connect with your peers, to follow up with a core faculty member that maybe you've signed up to meet with, and you'll have an opportunity to sign up, to have one-on-ones with your core faculty member or a member of the program staff. And then our evening sessions or late afternoon sessions are actively devoted to professionalization seminars across the board. So we do have one evening, well, the professionalization seminars offer a time to do things like look at biographical statements or research statements, or thinking a little bit about these other attendant materials that aren't your research, but that are going to help you get a job, apply to a postdoc, understand kind of where you're going with a cover letter, things like that. There's one night during the week where after the evening session, we actually have a group lunch together, and that's in the middle of the week. And we call that sort of a shorthand, everything you want to know about graduate school or applying for a job that you wouldn't have thought to ask. And so during that session, you'll be able to give some anonymous questions and have sort of a larger debrief where all the core faculty members, we all have dinner together somewhere nearby and sort of talk through some real issues. And we'll take any questions or concerns that you might have, and try to discuss them openly and honestly, particularly as people are stressed about situations with their chairs or their committees, or trying to figure out where they fit into a larger disciplinary questions as they're applying. So that's sort of what the day looks like. So as you come to the Institute, what we're going to want you to be thinking about is how you sort of fit into the thematic areas. So if we could move to the next slide, we can talk through that. So if you'll look at this slide, it's giving you a sense of the specialty, the area specialties of different faculty members. And the idea here is that you will be filtered into your small groups based on how your research statement fits in with one of these areas of specialization, or how we're grouping together different peer groups. And you might find that you're the only one in your particular discipline in your group, but there's going to be some kind of tie that binds you all. And that's sort of how we're going to be developing collective experiences or collective discussions, right? So this is meant to help you both talk across discipline, but find these connections maybe with scholars that you would never have thought before. So our core faculty offers these different disciplinary trainings. So once you get to know who's doing what in terms of the core faculty, this can help you think about scheduling some time with different folks to talk about different areas of your work and get some feedback on what you're doing or if you're struggling. And that might be particularly from a disciplinary or a research vantage point, or it could be very personal, like I'm a new parent and I'm going on the job market. What is that like? And some of us are able to help you answer those different elements. So have a look at these core faculty specializations and sort of know as you're coming in, where could I fit into one of these areas? And if you're finding, I don't think I could fit into any of these, it's still very possible that we can find connections with your work. So don't let these areas be limited, but if you see something that really speaks to you, understand that to foreground that in your research statement as you're applying. So keeping in mind that you do want to know that there will be time for one-on-one meetings with different members of the core faculty. But also as you apply and get accepted, figure out maybe I need to meet other people on the UT campus that aren't affiliated with our program, and give yourself a chance to make some plans with them as well, right? So you can get the most of your on-campus experience, right? So this is about building not just a research base or methodological angle, but really thinking about your personal and professional networks. We really understand that to be the core, a core benefit of attending the Institute. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Parra Cardona, who's going to be talking about our eligibility requirements and the application process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez Martina. A beautiful overview and so informative. I'm always impressed of how much you cover in such a limited period of time. So great job with that. Thank you so much. And welcome, everyone. I'm very excited to see all the participants we have in this webinar. So always very exciting to know that you are joining us. Thank you so much for that. I will talk briefly with you about eligibility criteria. That is, what are the characteristics we expect to find in applicants? And this is very important. Over the course of several years now that we have implemented this institute, we have arrived to this eligibility criteria as key elements for a successful experience for the overall institute, but also for the successful experience that each of you are seeking to experience as participants. So having clarity about these eligibility criteria is essential, because you may need to wait until the next cycle to apply. At the same time, it's very important that all institute participants have achieved a minimal set of academic goals to ensure satisfaction with the institute experience, as well as high productivity. So in the past, we were more flexible with some of the eligibility criteria that I'm going to talk about. But we learned that because the time is so limited to 1 week, the pace is very fast. So one of the challenges was that people were at different phases in their professional development, and that did not allow us to have a uniform movement for the experience. Since we have implemented this eligibility criteria with more clarity and consistency, the feedback has been very consistent that the experience as a participant is very productive and high satisfaction. So what are these requirements? Well, first, applicants must be doctoral students who have advanced to candidacy within the last 3 years. What does that mean? Candidacy is understood as successful defense of your dissertation proposal by the time you submit your application to the Institute. It's a successful defense of your dissertation proposal. This requirement, we have learned, is essential, and it's important for all applicants to be exposed to similar experiences in their academic trajectory. In addition, all participants must have complete clarity about the objectives and goals of their dissertation study. So we've learned that meeting this requirement is essential because the sense of direction, the sense of focus that participants bring to the Institute is very sharp, and we can maximize the learning experience within the few days that we are together. Second, applicants must have collected data on an intersectional qualitative research project. This is a broad understanding of this criteria, meaning that the criterion intersectionality can be broadly defined as studies addressing 2 or more areas of diversity, whatever this may be, for example, gender, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, and disability. So it's a broad understanding on intersectionality. Third, applicants must be currently enrolled in an academic program at a U.S. accredited institution. Scholars who are Mexican American, African American, Native American, Puerto Rican, or from other socially or economically disadvantaged groups are encouraged to apply. We purposely identified these groups as these populations of scholars continue to be significantly underrepresented in academic institutions. Next slide. Okay, now with regards to what you need to do to prepare to start your application, the first step is to be ready to upload the following documents in PDF format. Please make sure that each file name starts with your last name for easy identification. So the requirement documents are your curriculum vitae, next, a letter of support on official letterhead from your dissertation chair. It is very important in this letter of support from your chair that there's confirmation that your data will be ready to be used for analysis and interpretation prior to the arrival to the institute. This is essential because, again, it's very fast-paced. We have workshops on data analysis, so folks need to have access to that data to join the training in a very smooth process. We also require a brief biographical statement. Pay attention to the fact that this is 150 words or less. However, few words, but this is your key opportunity to share with us highlights of your professional background and main motivations for choosing your program of research. So make sure to make this personal, to communicate your passion and your desire for this training and how this training is going to enhance your career and your trajectory. It's the way in which you're going to be speaking in a personal way to us. Finally, a description of your dissertation research of 500 words or less, a clear and succinct reference to intersectionality and the way it is addressed in your dissertation research must be included in your description. I just want to highlight this element because sometimes it's difficult to identify that connection with intersectionality. So make sure in that description of your dissertation study, intersectionality is clearly addressed. With this, those are the requirements and the documents that we require from you to upload. And I will turn it over now to Dr. Parra Medina, who will talk about the application deadlines and other institute details.
Thanks, Dr. Parra-Cardona. So the application will be opening soon or might already be opening. And the deadline is December 1. And you can go to our website and you'll find a link to the application. It's an online application. You should have all your materials ready to upload. You can't like do it halfway and then leave the application and come back, right? So make sure that you have all the materials ready so that you can complete it in one sitting. Is that what it is? Sitting at one time. Also, we want to get notifications out as soon as possible. Our goal is early February, so you will receive notification if you've been admitted into the Institute by early February. It's important for us to try to get the information to you as soon as possible because many participants seek financial support, professional development funds from their departments or the graduate school. And so the earlier that you prepare those requests or make those requests, the better. The Institute, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be June 23rd through the 28th. Let me now go to the next slide and address some frequently asked questions. So, is lodging provided? Yes, I mentioned briefly that we do house students together in an on-campus dormitory. And details about the housing is available on our website. We have a frequently asked questions kind of section. Make sure that you read through all of those questions. You know, if you have a question, somebody has had it before. You know, this is our 6th year. We've had all kinds of experiences. And so I definitely, if you have a question, go there first. And if the answer is not there, you can always email us at the Latino Research Institute and ask your question. Next. What does it cost? So I just love, it makes me smile when I see these pictures because I just remember all our student cohorts, and they're all such great people, and see, they look so happy. So it is really a great experience. So the Institute does cost $900. And what is included is the tuition for the Institute, the lodging from Sunday night through Thursday night. We provide breakfast every day and lunch and snacks. Dinners are on your own except for 2 nights, which is the Sunday night welcome dinner. And then it's either Tuesday or Wednesday night. We host a dinner at a local restaurant. As Dr. Gonzalez Martin mentioned, it's everything you wanted to know about academia, and we're afraid to ask. So you can ask it and we will answer it to the best of our abilities. So other than those 2 dinners, dinners are on your own. And also travel. So you are responsible for your own transportation to the Institute. Some people fly, some people drive. If you do drive, we do not provide parking. There is parking available on campus for a fee, and that also would be covered by the participant. Next. So we're gonna move to some other Q&As from the group. Dr. Morales Campos has probably been monitoring the Q&A. Again, if there are specific questions, please go to the FAQ section on the website. Also, do not wait until the last minute to start to find out from your academic department or the graduate school about what sorts of resources are available for you for professional development and travel. You know, they have limited budgets every year, and those resources do get used. So the earlier you can request those, the better. Dr. Morales Campos, are there any questions?
Yes, hold on. Let me just remove the spotlight so everybody can see everybody. Just quick little instructions for panelists. If you could please raise your hand if you want to answer the question. We have like about 6 right now in the Q&A. Let me go to them really quickly. Okay, so first question. Do we have to have advanced candidacy when applying or just before we attend the program? I will be taking my comprehensive exam this spring. I'm also in a slightly different situation where I have a diversity supplement through NIH. So I am already in year 2 of my dissertation research. Thank you very much for your help. Ruben, I saw your hand.
Yes, yes, this is a question we repeatedly get in the fulfilling being a candidate by the time of application, and is important to have an advance to candidacy. Sometimes contingencies happen that folks estimate they will be candidates and end up not being a candidate by the time of the training, and that prevents another candidate who's already a candidate being able to participate. So this requirement of the successful defense of your dissertation proposal, it's an important requirement that we ask for folks, and that's why we encourage folks to apply for the next cycle if that requirement has not been met.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, advanced to candidacy can mean different things in different disciplines, right? Or different academic departments. Some people have things like comprehensive exams or other kinds of requirements. So Dr. Parra-Cardona mentioned our definition of advanced to candidacy is that you have successfully defended your dissertation proposal, right? So that means that you already have your defined research project, your committee has approved it, and you're moving towards data collection, right? So the idea is that once you're here, and remember the other criteria was you have to have collected some of qualitative, intersectional qualitative data, right? So the idea is that you're going to be able to start thinking about how to apply intersectionality and critical race theory to the data that you have, right? So we want people to have similar experiences, like you have conducted an interview with a participant, right? So you already have a good sense of the kinds of information that you're going to be drawing on, right? If you don't have that, it's very difficult for you to apply the information that we're giving you to your research projects. So again, don't get too much caught up on the words advanced to candidacy. What's important is that you've successfully defended your dissertation proposal and that you are in data collection.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, just want to emphasize it. I know it'll still come up again, but.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, so I have a couple that might be related to the early faculty program, so I'll ask them together. So one person asked, I am currently a PhD student, but will graduate in May. It sounds like I should apply for the early faculty program, but who can provide the letter of support for those transitioning between student to postdoc? And then the second one, that's the same vein. Is there an opportunity for postdoctoral candidate, i.e. I already have my MD, PhD?
Yes, so, okay. So I would, if you have a question about the Early Career Scholar program at the University of Maryland College Park, I suggest that you reach out to them directly. We each receive our own applications and do our admissions process independently. So I don't want to speak for them related to criteria. Now, if you, and so I'm not exactly sure for the early career faculty, when they get a letter of support, who the letter is supposed to be coming from, right? For our institute, because we're doctoral students, the letter is from the dissertation advisor confirming that the participant has defended their dissertation proposal and is collecting data. That's what that letter is supposed to communicate to us. Now, for the early career faculty, I don't know the exact details of the application process and what the letter requirement is. So I think that's a good question, but I would suggest you go to their website and email them directly. Now, we have had participants who are freshly minted PhDs come to our summer institute. We have made exceptions in the past, and usually these people don't have a postdoc yet, or aren't really going, or haven't accepted a faculty position yet. So they're maybe a little in limbo or kind of in transition. And I think that you are eligible to go to the early career one if you feel very confident, because in the early career, they really focus much more on growing your research program, how to publish your dissertation, some other things that really focus at a little bit more advanced stage of career. So I think you kind of just need to evaluate kind of where you think you would benefit from. You know, the institute's, like, we're in our 6th year. We plan to continue to offer it as does the early career faculty one. So maybe you might want to wait a year or two when you're in your postdoc or in your first faculty position to take advantage of the institute. Then the timing isn't exactly right for you now.
Okay, thank you, Deborah. Okay, there's another eligibility question related to data collection. Am I eligible to apply if I have collected intersectionality data for my master's thesis via in-depth interviews, but have not successfully defended my dissertation proposal?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And this is where, you know, a lot of the details are important. We've learned that the successful defense of the dissertation proposal is important because it's linked to your dissertation experience, and your dissertation experience is linked to the next phase of your scholarly trajectory. Many times there are changes between the master thesis and the dissertation proposal, so that requirement is important, the dissertation proposal defense, because it will be a foundation that you will carry during your initial years in an academic trajectory. That dissertation proposal is really, really important as setting that foundation. Now, just going back, I just want to what Dr. Parra Medina was sharing, I just want to encourage folks to see that we have this option, but don't get discouraged if you don't meet some eligibility criteria, because the other opportunity is also excellent for early career folks. I think that the ultimate goal is that everybody is in as much commonality as possible in terms of their trajectory, what they have achieved, because again, the pace is very fast. And it's important that everyone is on the same type of timing in terms of their trajectory. So don't get discouraged if you don't see that you don't meet all the criteria, because the other option is available, which is also an excellent training for early career folks.
Thank you, Ruben. So these are all data related questions. If we have interview data, should it be transcribed by June 2024? Go ahead, Rachel, you can answer that.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I'm answering this because I think it directly relates to participating or having good use of our sessions. And so the idea that you have a sample or a sampling of your data that you sort of look through, processed, transcribed, is a good idea and would really help you make the most of our variety of sessions. That is to say, it says all the data. That's going to be very subjective, what that means. But I think having a chunk. I mean, I don't know. It's very selective and subjective based on your project. But we're not checking anything, right? The idea is that as much as you bring with you, you're going to have more information on how you want to participate, the kind of notes you want to take in sections, the kind of questions you want to ask. And so that is really up to you, but you should have something to work with, especially if you're interested in our workshops on coding and actually looking at a transcription and playing with some of the data. So it's in your best interest to bring something to work with that at least is representative of the data that you have. But there's no rule about this isn't everything or the all or nothing, right? This is really about enhancing your individual experience.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez-Martin. Okay, the next data question is, do we need to have all the data before we come to the program, or is it okay if we have some data but not all is collected? Deborah, raise your hand.
Yeah, again, your data collection does not have to be complete, right? I feel like another reason the idea of advancing candidacy, having your proposal defended, and being in data collection mode is important, right? Because in qualitative methods, you are gathering your data and interpreting and learning as you go, right? You're asking more probing questions, you're following up more, you're finding threads, these sorts of things. And so even though your data collection isn't 100% done, it'd be important for you to have some exposure to your participants and your respondents, having some interactions with them, whether it's a focus group, an in-depth interview, observations, right? Whatever your data collection methodology is, you'll need to have, you need to have a sense of the voices, right? Because when we're talking about some of the issues, you will need experiences to draw on so that you can say, oh, I see how that relates to, this part of my study, right? Or how I would apply that concept. If you don't have that, it's very difficult for you to really make the most out of the experience. Mm-hmm. So, and so, who knows, maybe if you don't have all your data, you might benefit from being at the Institute, right? Because you go back and you're highly motivated in terms of how you're going to be approaching your data collection in the future, right? When you start learning more about positionality and reflexivity, right? You're going to say, oh, okay, and now I understand how that operates when I'm interacting with my participants. So it can enrich your future data collection as well. So it's important that your dissertation project is defined, it's accepted by your committee, that you have some exposure to your participants and data collection. I don't know if I've said enough, but that's
I think Ruben wanted to add.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
just to complement, excellent response. I think just to complement, it's very important that you own this application, and it's part of the professional development coaching that we offer folks. So don't go to your advisor and say, I need a letter for this. Thank you, bye. It's like you really need to help your advisor become familiar with the requirements, eligibility criteria of this application. If you see gaps in that letter of support that are important to understand your application, like for example, I have not completed all my data, but I've made substantial advancements in that. It's important that that letter of support states that. So there has to be a lot of congruency with that letter of support in your application. If you state something like, I have made great advances, I will continue to collect data by the time of the institute, it's important that your advisor offers that. So one of the mistakes I've seen in early career folks is usually they delegate completely that responsibility of letters of support to advisors and other colleagues, and folks just don't have, for example, the understanding that you are gaining today in terms of preparing a strong application. So make sure that you own that and that you work with your advisor in making sure that correspondence between your materials and that letter is very solid.
Thank you, Ruben. We have one final question. If anyone has any other burning questions, please enter them into the Q&A right now and we can answer them live for you. If not, Jessica had a question. Can you share the degree to which critical race theory needs to be addressed in the application? Thank you.
I'll answer this one or start to answer it. So the answer is it depends on if critical race theory is part of the work that you're doing, right? So the idea is and this is sort of a big picture, intersectional qualitative work doesn't necessitate that you're an expert in Crenshaw and critical race theory, right? We are going to do a bit of introducing, but you need to show us how intersectionality, how you've been cultivating or trying to cultivate it in your project or in the planning of your project, right? So there isn't like a box checking of like who they name and what ideas you share, but you need to show us that you're working on this or you have been working on this and you aren't just trying to like check a box off and say, I'm absolutely an intersectional scholar, but not actually show us what you've been doing. So I know that's a little vague, but I hope that that's helpful, right? That it's about what you've been doing and what you're trying to do with your work, but there isn't, and you just show us how intersectionality fits into your work, or you're trying to form it into something that fits into your work.
Rachel, there's a follow-up question.
Yeah.
I think you can address it. It says, are tenants of CRT welcome like family crit or disability crit?
Absolutely. Yes. Hopefully that answers it.
Okay, well, if no one has any further questions, we'd like to thank you for attending this information session on the Institute. This Zoom webinar is recorded and we will be posting it onto the Institute's website for you all to reference back. And you can also share the link with any colleagues who may not have been able to attend today. If you have any questions that were not addressed in this information session or in the FAQ, something comes up later on, please feel free to email us at lri@austin.utexas.edu. I did post the links for the FAQ and our email and other links to the application in the chat if you didn't see them. So they are there. And once again, thank you so much for joining us and have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.